Here I want to summarize again a laundry list of various connection interfaces. These three deal primarily with networking. The first cable you see should look pretty familiar. That's the registered jack RJ45 cable type and connector type. These are 8 wires, and this is what we use for Ethernet networking. The registered jack 11, which is a smaller cousin of the RJ45, has 4 wires, and this is used for telephones and modems. What you may not be as familiar with is the Thunderbolt interface. This is used for peer-to-peer networking with Macintosh computers, computers that are made by Apple that run the OS X operating system. In addition to being used for networking, Thunderbolt is a very high-speed display interface. It's called a dual protocol I/O cable, an interface because, like I said, it can do video and it can also do audio, actually, and it can do networking on top. It shares a lot of similarities with FireWire, as a matter of fact, and even, to a degree, HDMI. More on Thunderbolt, because this could be confusing. Again, the Thunderbolt interface, it's not an Apple technology specifically. It was actually developed by Intel, but adopted right out of the gate by Apple. I've been following Apple and using Apple hardware since the original Macintosh came about in 1984 or so, and they have a history of jumping on technology pretty early. They did that with USB, they did that with the PCI bus architecture, and they did it with Intel's Thunderbolt technology. So you'll find on current generation Mac computers, iMacs, MacBook Pros, they'll have at least one Thunderbolt port that allows you to quickly attach, say, an external monitor or an external storage device using the interface. I already said that it transmits video, audio, and potentially network data. Under the hood, the Thunderbolt spec brings in technology of both PCIe, which is PCI Express, and DP, which stands for DisplayPort, a video transmission standard. But the confusion that I keep alluding to here is that the connector looks identical to the mini DisplayPort adapter. If you go online and look for the mini DisplayPort interface, many computers nowadays, the computer I'm recording this lesson on actually has a couple, one full-sized and one mini DisplayPort connector. If you look at an Apple Thunderbolt cable, it appears to be exactly the same, which would lead you to think or wonder if they're compatible. The answer to that question is sort of. That is, you can use a Thunderbolt connection cable to connect to a DisplayPort device, but you can't use a DisplayPort connector and connection on the computer to connect to a Thunderbolt device like an Apple monitor. If you get an Apple external display, you'll need to actually plug into an honest-to-goodness Thunderbolt port there because of tweaks that Apple makes to the specification. Now, as you see in this bullet point that you see right now, Thunderbolt version 1 and 2 use that mini DisplayPort form factor. Thunderbolt 3 uses the USB Type-C, which is not on the exam objectives, but I'm awfully excited about because it's actually a reversible connector. If you've used the Apple iPhone, iPads, the Lightning connector, USB Type-C looks an awful lot like a bigger Lightning connector. USB actually can be daisy-chained because it carries power. In fact, you might use a powered USB hub to connect more than one USB devices to your computer. You can do something similar with Thunderbolt. In an Apple world, for instance, you can connect to, from your computer, your iMac computer, Thunderbolt cable to an external display, and then daisy chain using the Thunderbolt interface on that display out to, say, an external hard drive. We haven't really seen, as of 2015, a lot of uptake with Thunderbolt. It's used in the Apple world, like I said, to connect displays, but mostly it's external hard drives, and they're pretty expensive. I personally predict that Thunderbolt is going to become, well, dead, kind of like FireWire has been, in favor of USB Type-C and USB version 3.1 and beyond. We'll see what happens, though.